What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with the overall market and talk about Tesla stock very briefly. I'm also going to talk about SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers out there. But before I do anything like this, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And don't forget about the Webull link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon in just about 13 days. Anyways, let's talk about the market. Let's talk about Tesla. How are things looking? So Tesla was one of the highlights of the day as Tesla got a very, very big drop today. It started off in this critical level, and I told you all if it broke, this 255 support, this thing is going to be falling very, very hard, right? And I was also warning you that we had the triple bearish divergence on Tesla. Also, we had this on Aapl and SPY, and I was anticipating some downside for the market very soon. So what happened to Tesla? This thing just started dropping very hard. We had a good piece of news that came out. The Model 3 Highland just came out, which is pretty awesome. The new designs and everything like that is just amazing. However, Tesla also cut their prices, which is part of why it ended up dropping. So with all of this going on and Tesla selling off like this, the question is, where is this thing going to try to base? Right now, it's trying to test this support around this, 245 area. You're going to be watching that as support, but the real level I'm watching is like right here, 244.5 to 245, this entire zone right here. It's really acting as support because this is where Tesla had this breakout. So let me go back on the chart. So right here, you guys could see that what happened to Tesla was it tested 244.5 on Monday, got a rejection off of that, and then this is where the breakout happened. So this is now acting as critical support for Tesla. We're going to be watching this very, very carefully. Now, it looks weak overall. It looks very, very weak. And if we end up breaking below 244, okay, there's going to be a very good chance of Tesla coming all the way down to this zone right here between 238 and 240. All the way down here, that's where Tesla's going to head to, maybe either today or going into like Tuesday. If we end up getting a very clean break below this critical support at 244, that's going to be a very important level. There is some support technically around like 242 and also 240, but like I said, it's not going to be as strong as like 238 to 240. We also have this imbalance over here that's acting as a magnet, causing Tesla to drop even harder. So what do I think is going to happen? I think right now, Tesla's trying to base very close to where this support zone is. Let me zoom into it so you guys can see. The zone is once again between this 244 to 245 area. This is acting as support for now. And that's very close to where the previous breakout happened to be. Now, we're going to be watching Tesla kind of chop around here, maybe try to like push up a little bit, but as it tries to push up, we have the 200 EMA around 248 acting as resistance, and it's actually not even like touching it right now. So it's looking very weak. It's kind of just chopping around this area and may continue like this for the rest of the day. But just watch that 244 to 245 area as a very key level. We'll see if that breaks or not. My gut tells me it's going to just try to base for the time being, and we'll have to wait and see what happens going into next week. But once again, Tesla dropped just as we expected. I mean, like I said, this isn't really a very great place to be shorting Tesla. We had the opportunity way up here. I called this out for you guys since yesterday. So you had the opportunity. Not financial advice, by the way. Nothing I give is financial advice. I'm just letting you guys know that, you have to be careful with those short entries anyways. Now, for SPY, I'm going to actually go back to Webull, by the way. And by the way, for Tesla, we also had the triple bearish divergence play out exactly as predicted. So this was no surprise. For SPY, I want to switch over to Webull for just a second because we have this triple, I believe it's a triple bearish divergence as well. This may be a triple or a quadruple bearish divergence, depending on where you're looking, developed on it, which was a very bearish signal. And this is part of why I was expecting this thing to get a rejection. It got this rejection. Now it's just barely fighting to try to stay green. But I just want to mention that the level to be watching for is going to be on the 4-hour time frame. You guys will notice that we came very, very close to this 20 EMA that's going to be acting as our support if we do end up breaking below 450. So 450 is support. If that fails us, it's going to come all the way down. I would say the next level is going to be around 449.5. Also, we have like 449.19. So these zones are going to be important for support. That's where our 20 EMA happens to be. And if that breaks, there's going to be 448.5, then 448. I'm not too sure if it's going to drop that hard. At the very end of the day, we may get another sell-off just like yesterday. So be very careful at 450. And I personally think that on the bigger time frames, when we zoom out of the charts, we're looking more bearish on the 4-hour time frame. So the odds do favor more downside and SPY eventually breaking below 448, maybe over the next couple of trading days. So we're starting to look more bearish on the daily charts. The MACD is starting to contract just a little bit. and we have 2 red candles so far in a row. This may even become a bearish engulfing candle depending on where we close. So there's a possibility of that, which could become even more bearish. So just be prepared for that, just to be safe. NEO got a really nice bounce because they announced like 19,000 deliveries just for August. Very good news for them. Aapl, however, like I told you all, Aapl may try to get a push to about this 190 area, try to fill this gap. There's a chance it could push just a tiny bit more, but the problem with Aapl that I am seeing is this right here. I mean, we're very overbought. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're still in overbought territory. And then on top of that, we've been forming a bigger bearish divergence. You can see it right here. This thing, it's beginning to show on the MACD, and the MACD is starting to curl right over here. You can see it's curling right here, about to get a bearish crossover. So Aapl, in my opinion, it's going to cool off a little bit before we get another pump for the second week of September, approaching their big event. Before the big event happens on September 12th, for that week, this thing may cool off a little bit first, then bounce later on. So just want to make that as clear as possible. Aapl may cool off very soon. If Aapl cools off, the market's going to follow it. What is bearish about Aapl is the fact that, yes, it's been pumping. Could it pump a little bit more, try to fill the gap? Sure. But look at this MACD. This is looking more bearish to me. This has been declining. So is the RSI. And the overall momentum is starting to slow down. It's losing a lot of momentum. It's not breaking out as hard, and it's beginning to show signs of exhaustion, in my opinion. So I think Aapl could get one more pump, try to fill the gap around the 190 area, sure, but eventually we're going to see a temporary top, and it's going to just temporarily come down. It needs to cool off a little bit before we get one more pump during like the second week of September. I want to be as honest as possible. For the QQQ, I was telling you I was expecting some downside. Now I told you the QQQ could pump a little bit more. We could see like this thing get very close to like 382 and then start dropping, or it could just drop as soon as we opened. And we ended up just dropping as soon as we opened. This was expected. I told you we should be watching it come down below these critical levels, and that is what happened. So we're going to be watching the 4-hour time frame on the triple Q. And just like SPY, we're about to get a bearish cross on the PPO. We're going to be watching this support right about here, which happens to be very close to our 20 EMA. This happens to be at like 374, but the 20 EMA is at 375.22. So we're going to be watching that as our very, very critical support if we do end up breaking down. And our support is like in the 375 area, so the entire 375s. But 375.22 is one zone in particular that you want to be watching for the triple Q, because if it does break that, this thing is going to come down even harder. For now, it looks like it's trying to base, so we're going to be watching that especially for next week. Look at where Nvda is. I told you, if this thing broke down, okay, you're going to be watching 490. If that fails us, watch 485. Is that not where Nvda is right now? It also bounced off very close to 480. That's the next support zone, so super, super close. But on the 4-hour time frame, we have a bearish cross on the PPO. The daily chart is starting to show signs of a curling MACD as we got this reversal doji. And this is starting to look like it's going to decline just a little bit more. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. I think that Nvda, it's going to try to hold this like 480 zone, but I actually have this zone marked right here. So I'm going to pull back my like trading view chart because I have different zones marked, and also like my charts are a little bit different. I like to keep a mix of 2 charts so you guys can see like 2 perspectives. On the 30 minutes time frame, we barely bounced off the 200 EMA just a little bit, but we're still looking relatively weak as the trend is changing, right? The trend used to be bullish. Remember how we were making these highs, making new highs, new highs? Then it turned very sideways, forming a nice double top. And I was warning you that around 500 we could get the rejection. I warned you guys about that, and that's what ended up happening. And then after getting this rejection, after Nvda has been coming down, right, the trend is changing. We're making like a lower high. We're looking weaker. So we're going to be watching the 200 EMA as it supports very close to this like 481 area if 485 breaks. And below that, the critical support is going to be in this like 478 to 480 area. We have another support right here. If that breaks, this thing is going to be coming down pretty hard to 475, if not down to this breakout area around this 470 area would be coming next. But it looks more bearish overall. It looks like it's going to be hitting 480 very soon, in my opinion. May happen after the next like couple of trading days, but overall, that's what the trend is suggesting. So be prepared for all of that. Last but not least, I think I talked about almost everything that's significant. So I'm going to cut the video from here. Just a couple of things worth mentioning would be the dollar has gone into bounce. We were talking about the dollar bouncing. Remember, guys, I was talking about this, getting that bounce off 103, which happened as soon as yesterday. And I told you the dollar got this bullish cross on, I believe it was like very close to the daily. I think it was like on the 30-minute time frame or something. I was talking about the dollar trying to bounce, and we were getting signals suggesting that, and that's what's happening right now. The daily on the dollar is starting to turn a little bit more bullish. So if it keeps going, we're going to be approaching this resistance, sure, but we're not really there yet. So the dollar looks like it has more room to go up, which would be bearish for the stock market. The VIX is just very manipulated. It should be bouncing theoretically, but it's just continuing to be very, very oversold. We're approaching critical support on the VIX though. 12.8 to 13 is going to be a key support. It should bounce off that level very, very soon. If it gets to bounce, right, this is going to be because of the market continuing to fall. The VIX should be bouncing soon, maybe by next week. We'll have to wait and see on that. As of right now, there's not really a true signal of it bouncing because it's very manipulated, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, with that said, the market's moving in unison. I was calling downside on Meta and Amazon from yesterday. We kind of like gapped up, and now we're starting to look weaker. The daily did get a bullish cross, but it's not really breaking out very well. And this is like a very, very weak cross, so it's not looking that great. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon came up. I was talking about this thing touching like 140 and then coming down. If you look at what happened today, we hit this level right here. We hit about 139.96, and then we came down. That was the level we were talking about yesterday on Amazon. So very interesting stuff. I was expecting a little bit more upside before this thing rejects, and that is what happened so far. That is dragging the market down too. So anyways, I thank you all so much for listening. If you look at Tesla, it's now in the critical support zone. We're going to be watching to see if this could hold. It's still looking very weak. So watch your levels, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. Take care with your trading, and be very careful in a market like this. Always be cautious and do not chase for certain opportunities. You want to hunt for better entries. All right, non-financial advice. Have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you guys very soon later on today. Thank you, and peace out.